Hi, and welcome to Courageous Conversations. My name is Tasha and today I am joined by my long time friend. Doing that. It's good.
Okay.
Today I am joined by my long time friend, Shayla Streeter. We have known each other for over
Wow.
2 decades. We met in college.
Freshman
That
year.
was a long time ago. I can't even get through the introduction because wow, that oh my god, I cannot believe we've known each other that long. But anyway, she is my longtime friend. She is someone who is near and dear to my heart. She is a beautiful light. She is a beacon of hope. She is so many things to so many people, and I'm just so blessed that she is here today with me.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. I know. I had to think about we've known each other since freshman year in college.
I know.
Freshman year, Tasha. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to add about yourself for the people?
Well, yes, I go by Shayla. But I have many names besides mom or mother of the house. But I'm also part of this sister group called Elements of Abundance. So I go by Earth. I am also founder and creator of Divine. So I'm into a holistic health. So that is like my passion, my purpose, my drive, my calling, all those things. So yeah.
Well, I am so happy to have you here. No matter where life has taken us, we always connect back to each other and are on a similar journey. So it's just so beautiful to have you in my life and call you a sister. So again, thank you for coming. And our topic today is dun, dun, dun,
Right.
motherhood. Motherhood. Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right. So
love
my first question is,
it.
what does motherhood mean to you?
Woo. Okay. Motherhood means a lot of things, right? And so for me, as a mother of three beautiful souls, I'm grateful that the universe chose me to bring them into this universe. Um, I am their teacher, number one, right? And so learning that I'm their first teacher when they come
Hmm.
into this world, right? Like, how amazing is that? And just understanding like our job as mothers, we nurture. That's our nature ability, right? We are natural born nurturers, right? And so nurturing them into the beings that they are. I got a 21-year-old who is amazing, a soon to be 17-year-old and 11-year-old.
Wow.
And just watching their growth over the years and also understanding that being a mother doesn't mean that there's a script for this, right? There's no script for it, right? So motherhood for me is like learning through this journey of raising these souls. And I've learned a lot in this journey. I've learned a lot about myself, about the way I show up with them in the household and the way I teach them and talk to them. Um, and so motherhood is just, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing if you're open to it, to experience it.
I
Yeah.
love that. And I would agree on many levels with your definition or your interpretation of motherhood. And I'd like to add that in recent years, I know that I am the steward of my children. That's what I call it. I am the steward over
Mm-hmm.
the souls that have chosen to come through me or that have come through me or that, you know. But the biggest thing that I've learned is that they are my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
they are my teacher. They have showed me things about myself, and that's piggybacking on what you said. They have showed me things about myself that I would have never experienced if I hadn't gone down this path of motherhood, you know? So I look at them as teachers. They come here to show me not only the parts of me that need attention, but also the most beautiful, nurturing
Mm-hmm.
parts of me that I don't know if I would have expressed, or I don't know how else I would have gotten the opportunity to express that just from being the person that I am. Because other people are nurturing from childhood. They play with their dolls. I was
Right.
never that person. So I feel like the only way I would have gotten in touch with that side was to be a mom. So I am so grateful
And
for
thank you for
those. Yeah.
saying it, because it's the same way. So you're looking at Shayla, who was the time girl, right? So, right, you play basketball, I play sports.
Yeah.
So I wasn't playing with doll babies. I was out in the street wrestling with the boys or playing hot peas and butter. So you're right. Like, it took me to be a mother, but even that, even nurturing for that, I didn't receive. I don't want. And again, life experiences, right? That childhood life experiences. I don't remember growing up with hugs, so I didn't really give my children hugs and that. But now I'm like, hug away, like
I
right,
love
like give me all
you.
the hugs out the way, right? Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
me, I was never really a physically affectionate type of person. I remember even with my first boyfriend, he wanted to hold my hand, and I'm like, "Ugh." Like, hold my
Right,
hand. Like, what? What are we gonna
right,
do that for? What are we doing that for? I was never someone who like craved, I guess, physical touch in that kind of way. In other ways, maybe, but not that,
right,
kind.
right.
But I don't know. Having kids, I am very affectionate with my children. I kiss them, I hug them, I tell them how much I love them. And even so, it, having them and being able to do that with them has helped me overcome. And I realize I do love physical touch, and maybe I just didn't always feel safe being touched or whatever else, that I experienced that would make me not want or not crave physical touch. But I love it. Like,
Me too.
nothing
Me
feels
too.
better than a hug. Nothing feels better than being soft and just living in love. And I think that's why I honor and I'm so grateful for my kids. And I try to raise them in this softness because I'm not naturally soft, or maybe I was naturally soft and something hardened me. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that having them has allowed me to be extremely soft.
So, let me ask you, have you ever experienced this? So right now, because we never stay the same. Like, our state
Right.
of being always evolves and changes. So watching my children, you're same thing. My oldest, he's not a hugger. The middle one, not a hugger. But that third one is a complete hugger, rocking, like, so emotional, right? And so my children remind me of my evolvement, my evolution of, like,
Yes.
of motherhood, right? And so where I started with my oldest, what state of being I was with him, and the middle one too,
Yeah.
but then looking at Amaya, and I'm just like, wow, yeah, like, I've come a long way, and I appreciate that journey, because in order for us to get where we are now, there had to be a journey to get here, right? There had to be us looking back at our experiences and what was the lesson from it, how could we evolve from it, what was the teachings, and how could we, continue it and share it amongst our children. So that's how I kind of go along, or
Yeah.
just operate in this household type of thing. So yeah.
So, what has been your biggest lesson? If you could name one, because I know there's been many, but if you could
Right.
name one, what do you think has been your biggest lesson that you've learned during your journey of motherhood?
You said one. Oh God. Okay. So I can
Or
nail to
two?
one. I could do two. Okay. So that assumption, right? Like, you know, assuming that I did something bad, because again, it had nothing to do with my children, but life experiences made me think that I assumed that I did something wrong, or I had to appease someone, right? To like me or whatever. Family, whatever. And the other one too, my one is listening, right? Like,
Mm,
hearing, like, actually listening, but not listening to respond, but actually hearing what they're saying to
mm,
me, like how I'm showing up, things that they don't like that I say or do, as a sort of habitual thing that I do that I may not recognize, and they have the voice to finally say, "Mom, I don't like when you do A, B, and C," and hearing it, right, and
yeah,
processing it
yeah, yeah.
without actually having like a comeback, or always have to say, well, you know, giving a reason why. Because sometimes it don't have to be a reason. Sometimes you just got to sit and listen.
And just listen.
And
They
that's
don't
it.
need our advice. They don't need us
No, right.
to guide them. They're just telling us because they actually, and I call that holding space.
Yes.
So with my 23, my 20, now 24, she just turned 24. I have a 24-year-old. And one of the biggest things I've been learning as my children get older is they don't always want my advice or need my advice. They just
Mm-hmm.
want me to hold space. And sometimes that holding space is just listening and saying, okay,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yes.
And that's it. They don't need anything more, but I'm such a fixer. So when I hear
Yes.
saying something, my first response is, well, here's what you need to do, or what do you need me to do? And like I said, there are teachers. So my 24-year-old has taught me that I'm not telling you because I need you to fix anything or because I need a solution. I'm just telling you because I love you and I trust you. And I just want you to hold space for me and hear where I am right now in this moment.
And I love that, Tasha. For her to be
It's so
24,
beautiful
that's powerful.
because
That's
it is.
powerful.
And I would
Yeah.
never have learned that as a human if it
Mm-mm.
were not for her.
Mm-mm.
So that's why I look at my children as these blessings because it has allowed me to evolve and grow. And if someone was to ask me, I'm going to answer the same question that I gave you. What has been my biggest lesson in motherhood? And my biggest lesson has been I will never settle. And the reason why I will never settle is because I look into their faces, never allow them to. So if I know,
Mm-hmm.
and not that I wouldn't allow it, but I would never want that for them. So they are the reason why I have done all of this work on my internal.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the self-worth. I didn't have the worthiness. I didn't have the thing that I needed to propel me for me. I didn't have that. But when I had them, it was a question. So you're telling me if I stay in this relationship that my children are going to think that
Okay.
what a relationship is,
Yeah.
then I would, as soon as I got to that point, but woke up, it's time, okay, gotta go.
Right.
Job. Am I going to teach my kids that once you choose your career and you become successful in your career or you get comfortable or that career is providing with the comforts of life, but you are miserable, do you stay?
Mm,
No, you don't
right.
leave.
That is so
And,
powerful.
and if it wasn't for them, I probably would stay. I would have stayed. And people think it's the opposite. They're like, well, you have two small children. You should stay at your job that provides you with your safety. And I'm like, for me, it's the opposite. They're the reason why I'm going to go and I'm going to explore this life and I'm going to live life and I'm going to chase anything that excites me because I'm going to give them permission to do the same.
That's dope.
And I'm going to show them that life can be. I'm not going to tell them. I'm going to actually show them. And that has been my fuel my,
Yeah.
for quite a few years now.
I love it. I love it. And I'm working, that is the one consideration for me, right? So jumping in and knowing that the universe got me. When I tell you, like the universe keeps reminding me, like, listen, I got you. I just need you to jump. I just need you to take one, like, I just need you to take one foot, like,
It's
just
so
jump. Like,
scary.
it is scary, right? It
Oh,
is. It's a very scary thing. And so for me, the worthiness, you know, whether I matter, whether that whole enough, like, am I
mm,
doing enough? Did I say it right? Did I do it right? How did this look? That sort of like ideal of perfection, right?
yeah,
Even motherhood, right? Motherhood is like this sort of ideal of perfection. There's no such thing.
none.
There's no such thing. And so reminding myself to be gentle on myself, and I always got tomorrow. It's okay to make mistakes. Like, so those are the constant conversations I have with myself too, because even motherhood, like I look at some of the, I don't want to say mistakes, but lessons with my oldest and how I discipline him because based
Yeah.
on what I was taught, right? Like based on, it was like you're seen and not heard. Like that's a common thing that I had to come to my realization as an adult. Like, why do I
Absolutely.
keep showing up in circles? I want to say something,
Mm.
but I don't have the courage to, or whatever it is. Spirit got my mouth closed, whatever,
Oh,
right? Fear got my mouth closed, right? And I'm like, where is this coming from? And it came from definitely childhood. Like my childhood, like that I've heard it grandmother, mother, aunties, you're seen but not heard.
stay in a child's place.
Always. And so
Yeah.
unintentionally when I had the children, I made sure that I gave them an open lane to express how they feel. But then deep down that because that was already planted in me, I still kind of disciplined them that way, right? Like you can express
I
how you feel, but you still understand you and this child place stay in your lane, that kind of thing, right?
absolutely.
So that's that mixed communication between the two, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I still find myself doing the same thing. My children have a voice. They are allowed to say whatever it is that they are feeling because I understand how important feelings and our emotions are in our spiritual growth. Those two things go hand in hand. And if you don't know how to express yourself, if you don't know how to use your voice, if you don't know how to say what's on your heart and understand what's going on inside of you, you are going to struggle as an adult. You're going to find yourself in relationships you don't want to be in. You're going to find yourself at jobs you don't want to be in. You're going to find yourself just doing things that deep down you're okay with doing, but they're not the things, it's not where you really want to be. But it's because you haven't had the practice of even saying what it is that you're feeling, what you want, what you don't want. Like we didn't have that option. We are having fish for dinner, whether you want it or not. That's how we were,
Mm-hmm.
raised. Not to that strict. I don't want people to think that we're like, oh, it was so horrible. No, that's
No.
just how it was passed down from generation to generation for a reason. We came
Mm-hmm.
from times where brown people were not safe being in our brown bodies.
Right.
We were not. So everything that our ancestors and our family and our parents were doing was about protecting us. Also, it was about they didn't even have that emotional space to deal with their own selves. So when we came with all of our big emotions and our bigness and our loudness, it was like you
Right.
gotta put that down. I don't even have the capacity to deal with you because I haven't dealt with me.
Absolutely.
And
Like
it's not this burden. People hear trauma and they hear what we're talking about and they're like, oh, here we go again, talking about what our parents did or didn't do. Well, let me tell you this. Us being able to even sit and have this conversation so that we can change things is the gift. Our parents
absolutely.
did their best, but they did such a good job.
Absolutely. Hello.
Now allowed us
Yes.
space to sit with our traumas and with our things that we need to work on. And now we have the ability to go out and do it.
Absolutely. Isn't that amazing? Like I tell people so empathy and compassion is big, right? So when I say empathy and compassion, our parents did the best they with the information that they had, the tools that they did the best that they could in that state of being, and even to this day, right? And so
Absolutely.
talking to my dad and my mom, I can look back and say, okay, like this is the moments where things shifted, or in my life type of thing. But there's no blame. They did the best they could,
Yeah.
and even having those open, honest conversations with my mom, like she dealt with her own sort of like insecurities
Absolutely.
and beliefs, right? Because we call them beliefs, like that sort of fear and worthiness, right? And so knowing that I can have empathy for her and my grandmother who wasn't a hugger, right? And so I'm like, damn, like, so you're right. Like, it starts with me changing that sort of cycle, right? Like, us strong women feeling like, we strong, we don't need a man. No, like,
No, I
I'm looking
do.
for a partnership. I need a
I
healthy
do.
partnership. Like, absolutely, right. Like, and
Yeah.
being clear on what we want
Mm.
and being
That part
okay.
right there.
Yeah.
Knowing what you want and not
Mm-hmm.
being afraid to ask for more. I
Absolutely.
want more than what I saw.
Yeah.
And not from a running place. Because for me, for a long time, it was, I will never be like that. I will never have that. But whatever you're running from is going to follow you. It's going to chase you because you're running. But if you are walking towards what you want versus running away from what you don't want, you could be running for the rest of your life. But once you have the courage enough and you understand your worth enough and you feel worthy enough to say, um, I'm going to allow my children to have a voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to not accept a partner. I'm going to choose one
Yes.
from the healthiest parts of me, not from the parts of me that need a little love, which is fine too, because we all have to go on that journey of knowing what we don't want for a lot of us, because we don't come from those kinds of traditions typically. You know,
Mm-hmm.
our parents were together for survival reasons or whatever else, whatever your backstory is. But being able to wake up and be like, I'm choosing a partner from my most healthiest places because I'm healthy. You know, like that's a whole different ball game.
But you know what? What you just mentioned, though. So just understanding the universe. So I've been studying Abraham Hicks, and we've all heard of Abraham, how powerful he is. And she talked about the vortex, right?
Yeah.
and and so being clear in our words, in our
Mm,
communication, and even in our thoughts, not even what comes out of our mouth, the thoughts, right? Because we can say, I
absolutely.
want this, I want that, but then if the belief don't match in our head, match the words, you're gonna get exactly what in your head. So I don't even say what I don't want. I just say clearly what I want, like
Absolutely.
specifically what I want, because the universe doesn't understand the what you don't want. It's going to
Right.
give you what you don't want. It's going to give you
Absolutely.
what you want. So making sure that we're speaking and affirming in the ways that we want to see ourselves, visualizing it. And so that's what I teach the kids and teach myself all the time.
Yeah,
Like, what do I want? What do I want? And visualize it and see it. Yeah.
I agree. And I guess I'm speaking for the people because this was me not even a year ago. I knew I was in a space to start asking for what I want, but never having done that before, it's harder than you think.
It is.
So it's way harder than what you would think because you still have all these other thoughts that counter, that go against what you're saying you want. So the
Mm-hmm.
work is like, and what I've learned, the easiest way is say what you don't want first. Look
Right.
at what you don't want because that is the key to what you want. So
Mm-hmm.
if something comes up in your life and you're like, ugh, I don't like that, I don't want that, it creates an immediate reaction.
Right.
That is a good thing. That's a good thing because
No.
it's showing you that is an absolute no. So if that's the no, what's the opposite that leads to the yes?
Absolutely.
You get what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? So for
No, I
me,
do.
it was becoming very clear about what I don't want first.
Mm-hmm.
Our life experience. We're going to go on that journey anyway. Life is early on. We're going to have a lot of things that we don't, unless our parents raised us like this. And that's what we're doing for these future children. They're not
Absolutely.
going to have to go through all of,
No.
the things that we went through to find out what we don't want to get to what we
Right.
want. They're going to be able to ask
Absolutely.
early. Like my
Absolutely.
kids, my 9-year-old and my 6-year-old, oh, they know how to ask now. And when
Good.
they don't like it, they are very vocal on, I don't want it. I don't like it. And a lot of people may look at that as like, oh my God, these kids are so blah, blah, blah. They're so picky. They're so vocal. I'm like, no,
Yeah. No,
you have
exactly.
no idea what their future is going to look like. You
Yeah.
have
But
no
let me
idea.
I empower Maya all the time, just reminding her, because her name is Maya, which is close to God. So I
Mm,
remind her how special of a gift she is. But she's very vocal, and like you said, like vocal to the sense where I'm just like, but I do have to remind her
absolutely.
the power that's within her, right? Like, right, like just remind her. But going back on what you said as far as contrast is absolutely right, because if you have nothing to gauge it by, or like So I know for me, relationships was one area that, yeah, Shayla needed a lot of work on. And so my contrast is I knew what I did not like, what I did not want. You're absolutely right. And so I had to switch and be like, okay, well, what the hell do I want? Like, I know I don't want that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm clear, so clear. And so I had to, and I actually, you know, wound up meeting somebody who met that, right? But again, the universe works in mysterious ways. I got some strong ancestors. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They got rid of him. Like my ancestors got rid of him. How so be it? They got rid of him for, and it also showed me that I still have work to do on myself, right?
Absolutely.
Because even though he showed up everything that I wanted, there were some similar things that reminded me of old previous relationships. And it had nothing to do with him, it had just something to do with me reflecting on like, okay, Shayla, like you still got work to do. And again, it never stops, right?
It never stops.
It never stops.
But the growth probably.
Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Here we go.
Okay.
It's about to resume. So the growth, the cool thing is that was more of a reflection of your growth.
Yes.
Because the old you might have entertained that longer. The old you might have stayed and found reasons to stay. And because of the space that you're in now, and because you've done all this work, you could be like, oh, no, this is not it. And that's that not settling part that I'm talking about. Right?
So, yeah, you're right. As I said, the ancestors were strong. I was like, oh, hell no, we're not going through this again. We're not doing this.
Not today, Shayla.
No.
Not today.
I appreciate it. So, yes.
Not today.
But I wouldn't change all my life experiences. I wouldn't change them because, like you said, we wouldn't be able to be who we are today. The growth wouldn't be there, right?
The understanding.
Absolutely.
Because experience leads to understanding, and it leads to clarity, and it leads to, if you're open to it, because a lot of people go through these experiences and they accept it as a part of them. Oh, that's just how I am, or that's just how life is for me, when it's really giving you the experience to choose something different, giving you the opportunity to choose something different. So
to choose, and that's the choice, right? And so I remind myself every day, who am I being? Who am I being? So, you know, I would operate years ago realizing that I was operating external, right? I felt like everything externally had to bring me joy and peace and happiness and all of that. And I was like, we got it. No, I got it backwards. Like internally, I needed to do the work within myself. So now the joy, the love, the adventures is within me, right? I get to create it. I understand that I get to create all those things. And then because of that, I get to share it to others and be open and loving because I love myself. So, yeah.
So our topic was almost self-love. And then it doesn't need to be, because no matter what topic I discuss on this Courageous Conversations, it always comes back to self-love. It always comes back to self. Everything comes back to self. And like you said, like you becoming those things, because that's what I call it. I call it being in my natural state. My natural state is love. My natural state is joy. My natural state is peace. My natural state is responding. My natural state is calm. And now, because I understand that, when the craziness comes, even with motherhood, even when my kids come in and they are hot. I mean, they are high up there, and they are hot, and their energy is everywhere. They are like, the old me would kick in, and I might say some things like, if you don't go sit. And I still might. On a day where I'm not completely in my zone, I still might. I'll never act like I'm perfect. I still might do that, right? But it is immediately followed up by can I talk to you guys real quick? Mommy needs you to calm down, because mommy is not in the space for that right now. So if you do want to do that, can you please go outside, or can you please find another way, because this is not going to work, and I'm going to start yelling. And I literally just put it out there, and they make a choice. They're like, I'm not dealing with that crazy lady, so I'm gonna go this way. Like, they usually
Right.
make a choice,
Yes. Yes. Let me
instead of
tell
me
you.
taking it out on them and just keep going with the day with it. I make, after lots of practice, now I can make the choice to have a conversation with
Right.
them versus, making it a bigger thing than it needs to be. Everybody miserable because I'm miserable. Like,
Well, that's the thing, right? So,
yeah.
a couple last month, my daughter. So right now, my daughter has this situation she's going through, right? And so, as much as I wanted to wish it away, it hasn't. So she has addiction, right? And how do you deal with child addiction? And I don't want to put her business out there, right? So, but
Right.
it's an addiction, and so when it happened again, I lost it. I lost it. I did the threatening, right? But I operated. That was all fear, right? Because
Yes.
I'm like, I think I'm a good parent. I think I'm doing. I'm saying what I'm supposed to say. Like what the hell? Like what is going on?
What's going
But
on?
once I took my shower, because I have rituals, so I took a shower, did my chakra music. I turn all the lights off. Once I was within myself, and I got to actually process. Like I had to be honest. Like Shayla, you're fearful. You don't know what the hell you're doing. How to support her. And be honest with her, right? And so I kind of looked online and looked up this type of addiction. It is normal, typical for this age group. And so when I went to her and I cried and I told her like, mommy is learning as going along. This is something that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I operated in fear and I was angry, and because I was angry about myself, not at you, it's me. So I didn't want her to feel shame about it,
Yes.
right? I wanted her to know that it was all on me, the fear on myself, and feeling like I'm failing as a mother, or I'm not doing enough, or I'm not, whatever voices popped in my head. So she and I came up with a solution. We came up with some planning, some ideas. We sat down, we hugged. And again, it's still a day by day growing progress, right? We still talk daily, but just going back and thinking about that, it's like, you're right. We have those moments. We're not going to say you don't, but being able to identify and see yourself and acknowledge it and own it, like, part, you got to own it. And then, and be okay with to your children, like, I'm not perfect. So, yeah, yeah,
You know what a gift that is for them, though?
yeah.
To see that human side of us, because we all looked at our parents as like superheroes. Even if they were busted, broke down superheroes, we still looked at them as superheroes. Like,
I love it.
we put them up on this pedestal of like, my parents know everything, and my parents are going to provide, my parents are going to do, we had these unrealistic expectations of our parents. But I think the blessing is being able to show our kids conflict resolution in real
Mm-hmm.
time, show our kids how to apologize in real time, show our kids how to be imperfect in real time, and give them those lessons before they leave our house, so that they're not experiencing those in their first relationship or their first real friendship, because they already have been through these real, very real life things with their parents. I think it just grows the bond. It makes them trust us more. It makes them realize that they don't have to be perfect. It makes them, yeah, I can't even put it into words. I can only feel it because I know exactly what you're talking about. I know how the energy of my children shifts when I come back and I'm like,
Yeah, right.
my bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. This is why mommy was behaving like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
it also shows them how to regulate their own selves. My children apologize to me all the time. They have
I
moments
love
too.
it.
They fly off the handle too, just like me. Sometimes I fly. And for me, my flying off the handle is not nothing crazy, but it's still a moment, right?
Right, right,
But
right.
I, I was at my parents' house. I'm at my parents' house right now, and my son was like, he was upset about something. I told him you weren't going to get tablet time. These kids and these tablets and this
Oh, I
screen
know.
time. That is
Right.
our biggest fight, right? So I told him you're going to lose it for the rest of the day. That's like you taking my cell phone away. I might feel some type too. So
Right.
I told him it's gone for the rest of the day. And he was upset. And he said, "Oh, you're the worst." Normal. And then he said, "I don't like you," right? And he didn't even say it meanly. He just said it how he said, because he was upset. He had tears in his eyes. "I don't like you," or whatever. And my dad was like, he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that he said that to me. And
Right.
I didn't feel any way as a kid. Like, why would I be offended by something a kid says? So I said to my dad, I'm like, "Dad, he has feelings too. He has words too. He can express, he's expressing himself." And I said, "But watch, he'll be back."
Yeah.
Because I know my son's heart.
Yeah.
And about 2 minutes later, he comes, he sits on the stairs, and he's behind me, and I hear, "I'm sorry, Mom. I was just upset." And I'm
See?
like, that
Yeah.
right there,
Right.
that's everything. At 9,
Absolutely.
this kid could go upstairs for 30 seconds and come back ready to
Yeah.
move on. I
Right.
know adults who that
Who?
be speaking to somebody for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, 30 seconds, 9 years old. So anytime I question what I'm doing as a parent, anytime I question, I look at that and I say, that is worth every headache,
Yeah.
every fear, every doubt, every side eye from someone who doesn't understand what it is that I'm doing,
Right.
every judgment, every opinion. I said, my 9 year old,
Yeah. Absolutely.
my
And
nine.
and that part. And so, thank you for saying that because you're right. We are dealing with adults who like this social emotional intelligence, right? And so, my daughter had a chance to start learning about that in the third pre-K three, whereas my boys no. So I didn't have the tools. They didn't have the tools. So because she was in pre-K three, they started teaching it, and I started learning it, and she and I was able to communicate that kind of stuff. So we do. We have adults who are operating who do not know how to communicate their emotions.
Yeah.
And another part is letting go, right? That whole they hold on like anger, resentment, frustration, and don't understand like to your health, holding on to stuff. Like when I tell you, I was able to let Sheila been through some stuff. When I was able to let go all of that, how lighter my life has been in freedom,
Yes.
and like
Yes.
I have nothing weighing me down. I don't hold no anger, no resentment. I love, wish you well, and like it's peaceful. It's peaceful, right?
Isn't it the most beautiful feeling in
It is.
the
Letting go is like
entire world?
yeah, 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 yeah. It's like
So,
expansion, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I can't even, it's another one of those things that I can't really put into words yet because it's still such a, just this overwhelming feeling. I'm like, how do you put into words something that's newer to you, right?
right,
Because
yeah,
I didn't always live in this space. This is a newer space for me. So I'm still acclimating to it. I'm still learning how to express it
mm-hmm.
outwardly. We're used to expressing our dislike for things, our anger, our sadness, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
sadness, all of these other things. But this joy, I don't even know if it's joy. It's just something so big I can't even describe it. It's this flowing of flowing of just knowing everything is gonna be okay no matter what.
Absolutely. Just no, like
Yeah.
absolutely. I tell people like everything will work itself out because it always
As,
will.
as long as
Always.
I stay in the
Absolutely, stay in the flow. But even if you don't, right? Even if you
right.
don't stay in the flow and things, there's a ripple effect, whatever. Okay, got it. But you know how to get back on and keep it moving. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I'm so grateful. When I tell you, I'm so full of gratitude of just being a mother and getting these life lessons. Not to say that I wouldn't be where I'm at now, just be a different roadmap. Got it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything. Absolutely nothing.
Me either. Me either.
I know I'm all
Me.
dark right now. The darkness came in.
Sun went down.
Right.
The lighting is gone.
My lighting is gone.
It's gone. It's okay. It ain't about the lighting though. It's all about the words and the message.
Absolutely.
And I guess my last question would be, do you have any advice? Two-part question. Any advice for new mothers and any advice for mothers struggling with that mom guilt of, that feeling when you lay down at night and you're like, you feel bad for something you may have done during the day, or you're just questioning if you're doing a good enough job?
So I'll start with the first part. Um, in my situation, I wound up meeting different women. Like I grew up with all men, boys, men in my life. So, Tasha, you was actually my first friend, female friend in college. You know what I mean? I had all guy friends.
I
Hello,
do.
like,
I
yeah, I had
remember.
all guy friends. So, creating your village is very important, right? Creating a support group, just understanding that you're not alone, right? And so for me, I was very intentional in creating a support group. So I call myself a one parent household, but I have a community. So now my
Mm,
children have men or female that they can go to, elders that they can go talk to. Surround yourself in a community. Like that is absolutely key, right? Like creating your own village. And make sure that whoever you meet is someone that sort of aligns with your beliefs, right? Because that's key, right? You want your
that's
children to be
super
around
important.
someone, absolutely. Around someone who carries the same beliefs, so that your children and their children can grow up. And that's what happened here in New Haven. Like our children, I'm part of the elements, and our children have been around each other for probably 7, 8 years. So
Wow.
they right? So it was a beautiful thing to witness, graduating high school, all those things. And then, what was the second part question? Second part.
So that was for new moms, and then I asked for moms who are, maybe living in a little bit of mom guilt or questioning if they're doing a good job, doing a good enough job.
And that part, like, as far as whether, because we're always going to question ourselves as motherhood, right? Like, that never stops. But we have to really, really take an inventory of ourselves.
Mm.
And I always mention to people about doing that mirror work, getting to the root of why we do the things we do, why we talk the way we do, why we communicate the way we do. When we get down to the root of things and how we operate and how we show up for our children or for our partners, we have to be honest with ourselves, right? And be okay with not getting it right the first time, or not even getting it right. I don't believe in right or wrong, right? But not getting it right. But being okay with saying, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Seeking
But I'm
that,
doing my best.
do my and do your best, right? Absolutely, do your best. And again, seek the support. Like one thing that we don't have in our communities is the older elder women, right?
Mm.
Who can give us guidance and advice and support, healthy guidance. Let me be clear on that, right? So,
Absolutely.
but
Just say what
giving
I'm
us
trying to.
guidance. And that's the same for the men too, right? Like for the men, giving them like healthy male guidance. And
Right.
I have to emphasize healthy because we are dealing with a lot of people who are walking around who are unhealthy in the mind,
Yeah.
mentally, spiritually, right? And so it's not every advice is good advice. Let me be real talk.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
but when but when someone can take the emotion out and explain their lessons or their experience and offer it to someone like a mother who feels like they need extra support or they're not doing it right, can be reminded of just keep moving, do your best, and just giving them support and that type of guidance is key. It's really key. And
Yeah.
that's why I believe in communal, us going back to communal living, right? Communal living where we're being able to support each other, be able to have support groups when we're going through and dealing with whatever internally that we're going through, whether it's motherhood, dealing with our
With no
children,
judgment.
no judgment. Absolutely.
Mm.
You just hearing and listening to what they got to say. Yeah. So that would be my like last few words or advice, like
Yeah.
support. Yeah.
So it all comes back to community. Community for me and support and all of that goes hand in hand because we all are out here doing our best and learning along
Mm-hmm.
the way. And we have to remember that we come from parents and grandparents who didn't have, the knowledge that we have now. So we have a duty to go out and to expand and to understand and to realize how worthy we are and to find out where we really come from and you need to surround yourself with people who are doing the same thing or it's going to be this constant struggle and battle and doing it alone is the longest that's the longest journey of your life. Like
Mm-hmm.
it'll be the longest journey of your life. So I love the community thing. I'm actually searching for community. I have so many people that I know, right?
Hello.
So I have so many connections. I have so many people that I consider a friend and family. And my kids always say, I have so many aunties, but you
Right.
only have two sisters. How do I have so many aunties? So I have that, but it's like in pockets of individuals versus this community. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
I
Absolutely.
crave community. I crave elders. I call it a baba, a older man
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
fatherly figure that can just impart wisdom, a grandmother that can impart wisdom.
Yes.
I crave those things. So I
Absolutely.
think
You need to.
community is, I mean, high up there on the list. So,
So I will offer this, Tasha. Definitely, we do breaking bread. Now this it's getting colder, so I do breaking bread. And breaking bread originally created out of like I remember my situation when things happened where I became like this one parent household and how trying to juggle work, childcare, cooking, dinner, and how chaotic it was. And so I met this young lady, the sister, who was married at the time, and she was cooking and was pregnant. And I remember going to her and was like, "Listen, let's put our food together. You cook whatever's in your cabinet. I bring whatever in my cabinet. We put a meal together. The kids will play." And that wound up turning into a thing called breaking bread. We do breaking bread for the last 8 or 9 years,
wow,
and now it's my house. We used to do it at her
wow,
house. We rotate houses, but again, it's about creating traditions, right?
yes,
Creating a community, eating together. Eating is one of those universal language where you can
mhm.
bring anybody over,
Yeah,
right? Over food, over food.
I love that. I love that so much, and
So
I'm gonna
come
have
through.
to. I have to come. I have to. And you mentioned this to me before. But 8 or 9 years that you have been doing this, like that is a feat within
Yeah,
itself that it's gone on this long. So I definitely would love to be a part of that and have my children, you know, be a part of
yeah.
that.
It'd be fun.
So
It's
yeah,
fun. The kids have fun. We do
the
vegan
adults
meals,
have
so that's
fun.
what. Right, it's always vegan, so we do vegan meals.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. And I can't leave this conversation without giving a little bit of emphasis to being a solo household, a solo parent, right? Because we both are solo parents right now. Well, I'm
right.
speaking for myself. I think you are currently still a
Yeah.
solo parent. It just means a one parent household. Doesn't mean dad is not active in the child's life. It just means that the sole responsibility, the big chunk of raising these children falls on our household, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, and to any single mom or whatever you want to call yourself, solo parent. Some people call themselves soul parent. I'm the soul parent, and it's SOUL because they don't want to look at it as this burden. But I would be remiss if I didn't act or if I didn't tell you that when it first happened, when I first became a solo parent,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it was burdensome. It felt like the biggest burden ever because I would always say, I will never be a single parent. I will never be a single parent. That was like my one fear in life,
Right.
especially with the younger two. I was like, I will never be a single parent. I will not. And that mindset almost forced me or caused me to stay first of all, it caused me to stay somewhere longer than I should have. And secondly, I might have stayed forever to not become that. Right.
Right. Right.
So going through that transition and becoming a solo household required me to really put the time in front of myself and to really do the work because I refuse to be single, a single parent and miserable. My kids deserve to have the best of me. They deserve that. It doesn't matter if I'm single, married, whatever. They deserve to have the
Absolutely.
best of me. And I, again, like I said, they are the reason why I fight so hard to be better, and I fight so hard to elevate my life in all areas, spiritually, mentally, financially, everything. Is because
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show them that happiness is a choice, freedom is a choice, loving again is a choice,
Right.
settling is a choice.
Yes. Right.
Everything is a
Yeah.
choice. It may work. It may require you to leave behind everything you ever knew. It may require you, some
Yeah.
days to be crying like help.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
will never. I never wanted to make them feel like having them became a burden in my life
Absolutely.
because kids pick up on that. And I'm not saying that it has been easy, but it has been so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So worth
Mm-hmm. It is.
So,
It
to
is.
all the single moms out there, or solo parents, or single dads out there, and you're doing it alone, trust me, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You can do it without feeling overburdened, but it does require you to take a good, long, hard look at yourself and for you to prioritize your attention and your energy and, probably reorganize some things. But it's
And
possible.
seek your village. I think part of that too is
Seek your
like
village.
because our ancestors, we like even African like traditional ways, like if a man died in the family, that woman wasn't, the whole community pulled together to raise those children, right? And then
Yes.
so at the end of the day, we have to bring back that communal that's always been in us, right? We got to get back to that, like we're adapting these sort of European traditions, and that's not
Hmm.
us. That's
That's not.
not us. We are
I agree.
communal beings, right? Find your village. That's my last
Absolutely.
word. Find your
Find
village.
your village.
Find your
Even if
village.
for all people. It's not just for
Absolutely.
single, it's not just for
No,
mothers,
no,
in
absolutely.
general,
It's for
in
all
life.
general. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I love
Well,
it.
my
I love it.
beautiful, beautiful friend, I am
Yeah.
so happy and honored that you chose to spend your time with me on this lovely evening. It is always a pleasure talking to you. We could talk for hours. Like I said, we cannot see each other or speak for 2 years, and we
Yeah.
pick up the phone and it just flows. So I truly, truly appreciate you coming on here and spending your time with me. And I love you. I honor you. I wish you nothing but joy and happiness and abundance
Mm.
and success with everything you're doing. Your trip to Ghana coming up in a couple months. I hope that it is everything that you need and more.
I appreciate that. And just know, Tasha, I love you. I do. Like, right. We have the tall Tasha and short Tasha. But I love you, sis, and I appreciate you. And like you said, it doesn't matter 2 years or not. Like, we pick up the phone and it's love all the time. So
Always
I
love.
appreciate you. I do.
I love
And
you.
thank you for calling me and doing this. This was fun. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.
You too. Good
Stay on.
night.
Hold on, stop recording.